I wanted to kind of touch back on what Jennifer said earlier. She was telling us offline about an interesting case that she had. We're going to change tacks a little bit because I really want to talk about this because I was really interested because you mentioned. Why don't you tell us, Jennifer, and then I'll ask you some questions after you tell us about new case.
It's that most times when I say, "Oh, I have a really good case," or really interesting, it usually means that that some serious injuries happen, or So in this particular instance, the new case that I have is someone who's a truck driver, and he had recently become a trainer of new truck drivers for the company. He was on a long ride with him, and I guess a ride that required that he or that they take turns sleeping in the sleeper of the semi truck. And so it was his turn to sleep in the sleeper, and during it, the driver fell asleep himself, and so lost control of the semi and went off the road. I have pictures of the truck. I'm not sure exactly what it hit, but it hit something big. And so he was thrown around himself in the sleeper. Luckily, I'm not aware of any broken bones, but he's in a lot of pain in terms of hitting his back and his neck. And
So I was curious, I was asking you, so is that workers' comp? Is that personal injury? How does that work?
Right. So I've been retained for both the workers' comp and the personal injury potential claim. So with workers' comp, of course, we're going through the employer's insurance for workers' compensation. That is already up and moving in terms of him getting treatment through workers' compensation. When it comes to personal injury, we often refer to it as the third-party claim. We can't go against the employer itself for their auto policy, right? Because we're limited to workers' compensation as the mode of recovery against the employer. We can't go after them civilly. So if there's another person that is at fault or could be considered at fault for the injury, in this case, we would say it was the driver who fell asleep. We can have a claim against him. So we're currently investigating, whether he has his own personal auto insurance policy that we can go after, or assets in that respect for a third-party claim.
I'm going to probably dive into a little bit of minutia because I'm curious. Now, don't a lot of personal auto insurance have a limit on commercial? So won't they try to argue that, well, this is commercial and during work and the insurance doesn't apply? Would that be something that you would deal with then?
It could possibly be an issue. Like I said, I just took it in yesterday. So my client himself doesn't have the auto insurance information for the driver. So it's, like I said, I'm going to be investigating to see how far we can go with it. But potentially that's where we're trying to go. That being said, I don't know if you're aware of this, but with personal injury, where we have this, where it's a third-party claim and the workers' comp claim, if we do have legs to stand on in the personal injury claim, the workers' comp insurance would have a lien against the personal injury case and a right of first reimbursement. So let's say that driver has a minimum policy of $1,530. We're really probably not going to get anything from it.
Go straight to the workers' comp.
Right. And sometimes I can negotiate where, okay, you can take home, a third of it now. Okay, he gets $5,000 from that settlement, but they usually will ask for a credit on the workers' comp insurance, the workers' comp settlement at the end.
Wow. So now let me ask you this question. Isn't the employer required to make sure that the driver has the right insurance? What's the word I'm looking for? The adequate insurance in order for the position that he is doing?
Well, he as the driver, he's insured by the company, right? They have auto insurance policies on their rig. But in this case, again, I'm limited to the workers' comp.
Yeah,
most employees wouldn't know that, right? They don't know that their company's not going to cover that because they would. I would naturally think that a company's on the hook for when there's a personal injury on that end, right? Most people assume that, and obviously that's not the case.
Right. Well, and if the driver wasn't negligent in falling asleep, that would never, we wouldn't be going after him. So say that they got into an accident with another vehicle and it was the other driver that was negligent in causing the accident. This conversation would be about going against the other driver.
So this is why it's a little different because it is the trainer.
No.
Right.
Let's say that the employer did not have workers' comp.
Well, then I'd still have an underemployed, I'd still be seeking a workers' compensation claim against the uninsured employers fund, which I believe I've talked about before, where they step in the shoes of the employer, but
Yes, I remember.
the uninsured employers fund is going to go after the employer to get reimbursed. So that's why it's so important to have workers' compensation insurance.
So no matter what, it wouldn't go to the company's driver's insurance.
I don't know if that would open that up. I'd have to look into that.
Yeah.
Open up that possibility.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I've got on my plate right now.
That's kind of cool. I thought it was really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Jen.
Yeah.
So,
I like those crossovers. Oftentimes there's personal injury attorneys that don't know anything about workers' comp, and there are nuances to workers' comp and how those two cases work together. So it's nice to be able to, have the control and strategize as to how to make each of those cases go to maximize the benefit to the client.
cool.